Guys, it is Michelle with Salem Does Yarn. Today we're going to do a short tutorial on this cute little fishy guy. The pattern will be available pretty soon. We just have to type it out. It's all written out and everything. But this is for my visual learners. Sometimes it's better to learn visually. But yeah. Also, I am using a color changing yarn. Ignore the yarn mess on the top. So when you see it change color, don't worry, you didn't miss a step. You're going to need, I'm using worsted weight yarn. This is size 4. I'm using 5 double pointed needles. I believe these are 4.25 millimeter, but it's just whatever you're comfortable with so that stuffing does not show. You're going to need some stuffing, some scissors, tapestry needle, as well as a marker. And I use 10 millimeter eyeballs for this little guy. Depending on if you size up or down, yarn wise, you may use different needle sizes, different yarn sizes. I also use a pin to mark down on my hand. I already have where it's labeled 13 because I'll need 13 rows here in a little bit. But let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with a simple loop. Repeat that. If the camera shakes, I apologize. Also, I'm recording this between thunderstorms, so hopefully that holds off until this gets done. Stick it on your needle. You're gonna cast on 4. Well, 4 including the stitch that you already have on. So now this is just my preferred method to get 4 in a round. If you have a different method or you prefer to use magic loop using a long circular needle, that is fine. Split it in 2 and just hold them parallel. I pull the tail up around so that we have 4. And now we grab the next needle. We knit. This is fiddly, but we're getting a cone shape for the mouth. So we knit the 1, 2, turn, knit the 1 and the 2. Like I said, it's a little fiddly, but it starts our cone shape. Next, knit front and back all the way around. This yarn is splitting because I've already used it once and I unwound it to do this. So knit front and back, so now you have 4 on that needle. Knit front, back, knit front and back. So now you have 8 total stitches across. I apologize for the chipped nails. Just what happens when you knit constantly. Now we're going to do 2 rows. So this is rounds because we're working in the round. One, next side is also at 1. And then 2, 2. Now the cone is pretty defined here. This is the mouth of your fishy. And then I, at this point, kind of shove the yarn tail, hide it away as much as possible because it starts to get in the way and I don't enjoy that. It's the mouth of your fishy. And then you're going to knit front and back all the way around again. So knit front, back, front, back. At this point, I add my next needle if you're working double points. If not, I don't use the circular method, so I'm unfortunately unable to advise. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then another 1, 2. These are front backs, front and back. Pull out the yarn because it's a little bit tangly mess. Front, back, front, back. At this point, I add a stitch marker. And now we're going to work 3 rounds. So 1, you should have 4 on each needle, or 8 on each side if you're working circular. We're still on round 1. Round 2. And round 3. Okay, so now we have a nice cone appearance. That is the front face of our fish. Now, the next round is kind of tricky. This has a little, we're starting the shaping for the face. So, knit 1, knit front, back, knit 1, knit front. If I can get it, front and back. Knit 1, knit front, back, knit 1, knit front, back. That makes a total of knit 1s, knit fronts, to backs. Now you're going to just plain knit until the end of the row. Okay, I'm gonna move my marker up. This is personal preference where you like to keep your marker, how close it is to the needles. So what that has done is made a larger top portion and a smaller bottom portion, so that we have an area for his face, or his eyes and his fin, and then a flat area for his bottom. Now this is where the marking comes in handy, so I'm gonna put my pin around here and hopefully not bump the tripod too much. We're going to knit 13 rounds in total. So we start 1, and this is just straight knitting, so nothing complicated. Just knit and knit and knit. And we're back to the beginning of the round. I mark down 1. And I will see you guys in 13 rounds. I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up in the edits. And we're back, last row. My lighting may have changed during that 11 row speed up. It's starting to thunderstorm again, but I'm determined to finish this video so that I can get edited and posted. And I can put a link in the pattern. That way, if people are struggling, they can come and view this video. Row 13. I say row and round interchangeably, so please do not get confused. These are rounds because you're not stopping in between and switching. So, as you can see, there's our increases. It's just a little bit bigger on the top. So at this point, we're gonna stuff them. This is just my carry-on stuffing. This is the stuffing I take to work with me. And so there's not much left in it. I've got like a 20-pound box sitting in the corner of my room. I am in the opinion of overstuffing things. Here's his little face. Now, we're gonna place eyeballs. you see the bumps for the increases? Yeah. So you're going to place the eyeballs in that row. Anywhere in that row works. Make sure it's on the top of his head though. You don't wanna put eyeballs down here where it's flat. You want the curvy. So let's go here. Kind of wiggle it in. And let's try here. Yeah. And then snap the backs on. If there's a little bit of stuffing between your eyeballs and the backs, that's fine. Sometimes that can actually help keep your eyeballs in place. They're better secured that way. Okay. Push the stuffing back in. The reason I stuff it and then place eyeballs is I like to have a good idea of where I'm placing the eyeballs. I have a hard time when it's just the fabric to see that. So now, just like before, we're at the end of our 13 rows. We're going to go 1, knit 2 together, 1, knit 2 together, 1, knit 2 together, 1, knit 2 together. That is 4 1 knit 2 togethers, just like we did the increases. So now we're decreased. Back down his body. We're gonna knit to the end. And now we're going to knit 1 round. Okay, the next couple rows are a little fiddly, so I'll move a little slower. So next we're going to knit 2 together all the way around. And we're not done yet, but we're going to remove the stitch marker because our beginning of the round is going to change. So we're here. Now you can choose to slip the stitches afterwards, but I prefer to knit them as I'm going around. So this is where our beginning of the row changes. So we just finished the last 2 of the knit 2 together, and we're just going to knit 1, 2 onto that needle. So now we have 4 on that needle. I don't know why I set that one down. I need that one still. We're going to bring this up and around. Knit our 2. Set this needle down. Knit 2. So now we're back to 4 on each. We're going to stuff it all the way. You will not be able to add stuffing past this point. So stuff them as much as you want to. Grab more for this little tail. Okay. Now this is a 3 needle bind off, but we're going to continue knitting after the bind off part. So you hold your needles parallel. You take your 3rd needle, you slip through this first one, slip through the one behind it, knit all the way through. Now those 2 are slipped together on 1 stitch. Go ahead and do it again. Slip through this first one, slip through the back one, knit them together. Slip through, knit them together. And last one, slip through the front, slip through the back, knit together. That is how we start the fin in the back. Now I turned it. I just got the yarn all. So see in the back here, now you can see where all of your stitches were, like a knit 2 together. And you're just going to knit these. Now at this point, you're going to turn. You're going to, I slip the first stitch of every row, because now we're in rows. We're no longer in rounds, we are in rows, working back and forth. I slip it, knit front, knit back, knit front, knit back, knit 1. We're increasing 2 every other round until you reach your desired length. So this is the round you're going to want to repeat over and over again. So knit front, back, knit until the last 2, knit front, knit back, knit 1. You're going to repeat that, and then you're going to knit the other side until you reach the desired length. Knit front, back, knit to the last 2, knit front, back, knit 1. Knit, knit front, back, knit to the last 2, knit 1. So this does, well, I bumped it really bad that time, sorry. So this does cause the fin to kind of turn a little bit. I promise it's fine. No one but you is going to notice that little mistake. And you can always turn the stitches a little bit and then it'll sit straight. So I'm thinking maybe another increase. So we're gonna knit this side. The best way to determine is if you're knitting from the top to the bottom, you're just straight knitting. From the bottom to the top, you're increasing. Yeah, we'll do one more increase. So this is our last increase. Like I said, this is total discretion for you, however long you want to make it. Betta fish have very long fins. Goldfish, pretty short. It's really up to you on what you want to mimic, or if you just want to have fun with it. So now you're gonna knit down, and now you're gonna cast off. So for my stuffed animals, I use a knit two together, slip the right back onto the left, knit two together. I'm not sure what this is called. I was never properly trained in casting on, casting off. I know I use a knit cast on, but other than that, I'm not sure. So, knit two together, slip over. Someone in the comments wants to give me the know-how on what kind of cast off I use. You're welcome to. This is just the one that I use for stuffed animals. I use a stretchy cast off for my clothing. This one does not have much stretch. And I use this for my stuffed animals simply because whenever I bind two or sew two pieces together, it's easier. So we've cast those off. Take your scissors. You want a fairly long tail for this one. You'll see why here in a little bit. Actually, I can show you now. I didn't mean to go all the way through. I like to leave this last loop pull through so that it's clean knot there. Normally I wait till the end to tie in all my ends, but we'll do it as we go today. And yes, this unfortunately has quite a few ends to weave in. So we are at the top of the fish, top of the tail. I loop through all of my garter stitch bumps and some of the stitches on the inside. We go into the body. I bumped the camera again. Into the body, make sure that we pull this loose so that he still has a nice tail. I find a stitch on the inside, loop through one, loop through two, pull tight. And then because I make stuffed animals, I just shove, using my scissors, shove this end back in. And now I know that that end is not going anywhere because there is no access to that end. So he's looking a little bald. we're gonna go to the top, right about middle. This guy's middle is probably these stitches. So you want to start kind of far back. Pick up. You're gonna pick up every other. 3, 4, and 5. Now that is every other stitch bar. I don't know what else to call those. But there, it's every other stitch bar. And you're going to knit. This is a little fiddly, I apologize. Knit these stitch bars. So we have 5. We're gonna knit again. This is also kind of to your discretion. I normally knit, for the top fin, I normally knit like 4 or 5, maybe 6. That was 2. Three. We're on 4. And we'll do 5. Okay, and now we're going to knit. We're going to cast off, knit 2 together, slip, 2 together, slip, 2 together, slip, 2 together. This one does not need as long of a tail to sew in because the fin is shorter. And then we take our loop, we pull through the tail. We split the yarn because the yarn doesn't like us. Okay. And then we loop through the garter stitches here. And then I go, see how close I can get. I go 1 stitch over from where I cast on. Pull through. You don't need your needle for this part. I tie a knot. And I know knitters are always like, oh no, the knots. But the knots are secure. And it's a stuffed animal. And no one's gonna see this knot because now we're going to shove this knot into the stuffed animal. I prefer the knots over trying to just weave in ends, because sometimes the knots are more secure. He's got a tall little fin there. He's still missing some sides, so let's get him some sides. So let's see, let's go this row. You're going to pick up 4 in a row. This is not a skipping. This is 4 in a row. Those bars stitches. This is super fiddly, I apologize. But this is the best way I found. Alternatively, you can cast on 4, knit a couple rows, cast off 4, and then sew the whole thing on. I prefer working straight into the stuffed animal. I feel like there's less room for error when I do this. So just like before, 1, 2, 3. Like I said, super fiddly when they're that close together. Now we're only going to do a couple rows here, so we're going to do knit this row. Knit this row. Cast off. Knit two together, slip over, two together, slip over, and last one. Same with before, not a super long tail, just enough so that you can pull it through this loop and then stitch it down into the fin. One over from where you cast on. And tie a knot. I do 3, mostly because I feel like 3 is the most secure. And anything after that is just redundant. Don't stab your fingers. One more side. Now to do this side, I actually flip the guy upside down to check where my stitches want to align at. I pick up the stitches, make sure that's in line, across the body. So that we have the yarns on the same, where we started on the same side, we actually knit the top of this guy first instead of the bottom. It really does not matter. It's just a nitpicky habit of mine. Again, 4 in these little bars between stitches. I don't know the technical name for the bars between the stitches, I'm sorry. Flipping. We knit 1 row. I always have to give this guy a little tug after that first row just to make sure it's snug. We knit another row. And we cast off. Pull through, set our needles down, and 1 stitch over, pull through, and 1, 2, and 3, and then shove the yarn back into the body without hitting your fingers on the other side, because if you hit your fingers on the other side, that means you've shoved the yarn too far. It'll come out the other side. And that is our little fishy friend. These guys would be perfect market makes. I'm at about 50 minutes, and that's pretty quick for a knitted stuffy. Knitting does take longer than crochet. Keep that in mind when you're trying to compare yourself with making plushies. Don't worry about your timing. Knitting does take longer. So yeah, these would be great market makes. You're free to make these and sell them, but please give me credit for the pattern. It does take me quite a while sometimes to make some of these patterns. If you like these patterns, you want to see more tutorials on these guys, if you want to view my blogs, if you just want to be nice, you can like, subscribe, you can comment, you can let me know if you did this on a magic loop method. And that's it. Remember to take your pills, drink plenty of water, maybe get some sunlight and fresh air today, if it's not storming out like it is for me. But that's it from Salem Does Yarn. Until next time, thank you guys.